In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to use Toontastic, Android app by Google, to redefine your literacy class. Basically, the Toontastic app is for making videos or 3D animated videos. So if you're going to be teaching literacy as a teacher, or if you're going to be teaching creative writing as a teacher, Toontastic is good for bringing those creative writing classes into life. Basically, what you're going to do in your creative writing class, it's the scripting or the normal text-based story, and then you're going to use Toontastic to bring that part of your story or your teaching with your learners to life. So when you're installing Toontastic, you get this front face interface. In front view menu, you click the plus sign. Now it gives you option of deciding the set of your story and the structure of your story. Now in every story there's the beginning, the middle and the ending, and majority of times teaching young learners, you don't take that into cognizance in telling them this is how your story should begin, or these are what makes the beginning of the story, the middle of the story, and the ending of the story. Toontastic actually makes that possible in explaining the stages of storytelling, which is also applicable to film making. Now you could, for primary school students or teachers in primary school, you could start with the short story. The classic story would be for secondary school students, and the science reports maybe advanced students in secondary school. So for the sake of brevity, I would like to use the short story pattern. By selecting the short story pattern, you have the stages: middle, beginning, middle, and end. The plus sign here at the bottom enable you to delete any of it. So if you feel you're going to be teaching maybe very young kids, you could just delete the middle and work with the beginning and the end of the story. But with time, make sure you actually introduce the three parts to your students. Now you could drag and drop and add more parts of segments to the story, more beginning, more middle to the segment, or ending part of the story to the segment. So this makes your story much more richer, and depending on what you have decided to write about, teach your learners to write about. Now if it's a freestyle or kind of abstract kind of story, you could tell them to describe the three parts of the story and explain what they intend to add to the parts of the story they have created. For example, you have the characters. Okay, let me use, for example, you have the characters all laid out, and you click on the beginning. So you're going to talk about the beginning of the story. Now the good thing about Toontastic is also allows the teacher explain what characters are, characters development, the type of characters that are going to be a part of a particular story. Now if you're going to look at the simple sets of a story, for example the classroom structure, you click on it And mind you, Toontastic also allow you to draw your story set. So you could double click. Good. Now you have the characters that you could add to your stories. And what I like Toontastic is it has this child on the wheelchair, which helps you as a teacher introduce inclusion or inclusive storytelling in the curriculum. So you have different kind of characters. You can also customize your characters and depends on the color or race you're trying to talk about. You also have the option. So you could click on the character, click on the brush sign there, and to take you here where you can actually select the color of your character. Black, red, whatever color you intend to add to your character. It makes it easier. When you're done, you click on you could also add a picture of your face or use your camera to take a snapshot of your face into the face of the character. So you click in here and your camera is activated. Then you take a snapshot and it sticks to the face. Now it's much advisable to use minimum amount of characters, especially for young learners. You don't want to confuse them with too much characters in the story. So use the minimum amount of character in your stories. For example, you're starting with just 2 characters. This character. Then you click on this button here. And it brings the character in on set. Good. Brings the character on set. The only disadvantage is you can't have a personal conversation with your characters. You will have to decide what the character is talking about based on a general voice tone when you're teaching it. So compared to apps like Plutagon, you can only talk generally, and maybe with body movement it will actually show what the character is saying or who the character is talking about. You click on the start button there. Now it begins recording your movement and it begins recording whatever happens on screen. So when you're done, you click on the stop record button. And it gets to play it. Okay, you could now add moods to your recorded screen or recorded characters. Then you can increase the level of mood. It starts, for example, the tense starts with tense, anxious, and frantic. Bold, rebellious, bold, and spunky. Yeah. So if you are okay with a particular mood, then you click on this button here, the blue button, the tick good button. Then you go to your middle part of the story. You click on it Now, because we're maintaining specific characters on the story, the two characters will walk through the beginning, the middle, and the end of that story without much addition to them, or adding more characters to them. That makes your story much more focused, and your story much more interesting, depending on what you try to build up in the story. So now that's part of the class shows it was the in between within the classroom. So I will not, it still works the same way. Once you're done, you still go back to the end of the story, and when you're done, you get to, for example, want to pick up this part of the story. Or this part of the set, then you add your characters. Basically, in our next class, I'll show you a little bit on how you could complete a task using Toontastic.